All right. So it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. Manuela Leon is a senior technologist that we have here at Tobico Brampton Sleep Clinic and our sister clinic in Malvern. I've known Manuela since I was a trainee at Sick Kids. She was a scoring technologist there. So she actually, introduced me to what is available in terms of pediatrics in the community. And over the past 7 years, we've been working together to increase our capacity in providing care to pediatric patients, making sure we've got the medical expertise and the technological expertise to provide appropriate care. So without any further delay, please welcome Manuela Leon.
Yeah, so my presentation is about a record review on ISR that we do monthly.
Here, when you can keep the mic here.
We do monthly just to learn
Yes.
more and to score better. My learning objectives are transitions from M2 to REM sleep, starting scoring REM sleep, ending REM sleep, arousals during REM, scoring N1 versus N2, and scoring PLMS. So the record is from June 2021. It was like a 4-star difficulty. And the patient was a 4-year-old boy, a diagnostic study with a history of mild speech delay, hyperactivity. He was on no medication, and the 2 breaths duration was measured to be 7 seconds. So this record starts with epoch 1. As you can see, it was scored as N2 because the presence of sleep spindles and K complexes, which are characteristics for stage N2. So stage N2 has low voltage, mixed frequency. It has to have at least 1 K complex or sleep spindle. It has to have less than 20% high amplitude delta, low EMG activity, and during stage M2, blood pressure, brain metabolism, gastrointestinal secretion, and cardiac activity decrease. The child become more and more detached from the outside world and more difficult to arouse. K complexes are sharp, slow waves with a biphasic morphology, negative than positive deflection. Predominantly, they are seen central vertex in origin. Duration must be at least 0.5 seconds. They don't have an amplitude criteria and they stand out of background. How about sleep spindles? They are distinct sinusoidal waves of 12 to 14 hertz. They have a waxing and waning appearance. They originate in the central vertex region and have a duration of 0.5 to 2 seconds. So this I took it from a record that I scored in Etobicoke with excessive spindle activity, which is associated with developmental delay in children. You can see the spindle activity. Then I'm going to start talking about the PLMS, which was a weak point in the record for many people because they basically scored more PLMS than usual. This was the only series of PLMS that was scored in that record. So the following define a significant leg movement event. The minimum duration of a leg movement event is 0.5 seconds, and the maximum duration of a leg movement event is 10 seconds. This was the weak point. The minimum amplitude of a leg movement is an 8 microvolts increase in EMG voltage, about resting EMG, duration of at least 0.5 seconds. And the timing of the onset of a leg movement is defined as the point at which there is an 8 microvolts increase in EMG voltage above resting EMG. The time of ending a leg movement event is defined as the start of a period lasting at least 0.5 seconds during the EMG does not exceed 2 microvolts above resting EMG. The minimum number of consecutive leg movements need to define a PLM series are 4. So there has to be 4 leg movements in a row. The period length between leg movements is defined the time between onsets of consecutive leg movements. To include them as a part of PLM series is 5 to 90 seconds. So this is the PLM, the period, the period length is from here to here. So leg movements on 2 different legs separated by less than 5 seconds between movements on set are counted as a single leg movement. The period length to the next leg movement following this group of leg movements is measured from the onset of the first leg movement to the onset of the next. So this is period length. These are 2 leg movements on different legs, but the distance from the beginning of the first one to the beginning of the second one is only 4 seconds. So this counts of a single leg movement. And the period length, as I said, to the next leg movement is measured from the onset of the first leg movement in the group considered to be a single leg movement. So another important rule is when to associate arousals with PLM, because PLM can trigger subcortical arousal. So an arousal and a leg movement that occur in a PLM series should be considered associated with each other. If they occur simultaneously, like in epoch 50 and 51, they occur in the same time. If they overlap, here in epoch 52 and 53, they overlap, either before or after, or less than 0.5 seconds in the end of the one event and the onset of the other. Here, this is the end of the PLM, and this is the onset of the arousal, and here there are less than 5 seconds. So they are associated. A late if occurs during a period from 0.5 seconds preceding an apnea, hypopnea, or RIRA,
I was just
um,
okay. Sorry.
to 0.5 seconds following the event. Another rule is when we have limb movements in stage wake. So when a period of wake less than 90 seconds separates a series of leg movements, this does not prevent limb movements preceding the period of wake from being included within the subsequent leg movements as a part of PLM series. So here we have 5 leg movements. So we will score first one, second one, the third one. Here is stage awake, and then this will be the 4th one in the PLM series. So the record
I need to
continues
watch this.
with stage M2 in epoch 4 because of spindles and K complexes. Here, this could be considered a leg movement. So a leg movement should be sustained.
Sorry.
But this is just one, so there are not 4 in a row. Again, stage N2, stage N2, and we go to stage N3 when there are delta waves. So the characteristics of stage N3, it's a slow high amplitude EEG activity with a frequency of 0.5 to 2 Hertz, amplitude greater than 75 microvolts, and more than 20% of the epoch has slow wave sleep activity, delta waves. Both K complexes
See,
spindles may be seen in N3.
I know, but this
The arousal threshold of this stage is far greater than for stage N1 and N2. Body function continue to decline to the deepest possible state of physical rest. Another examples of stage N3. So 75 microvolts, these are the reference lines, and these are delta waves. Stage N3, stage N3 again. And this is how it looks on Alice or on our software in G3. In epoch 102, there is an arousal, and here we have three different stages. So which one do we choose? We choose the one which predominates. Here, this is stage N2, and this is the arousal, and this is stage N1. So this portion and this portion is sleep, so this epoch would be scored as sleep. And because this first segment is greater than the last segment, we score it as N2. So this is the arousal, which is sustained by increase in EMG, in leg EMG. When we end scoring N2, we end scoring stage N2 when one of the following events occur: transition to stage awake, an arousal followed by low amplitude mixed frequency EEG. We change to stage N1 until a K complex unassociated with an arousal or a sleep spindle occurs. This assumes that the epoch does not meet criteria for stage R. A major body movement followed by slow eye movements and low amplitude mixed frequency EEG without a non-arousal associated K complex or a sleep spindle. So we score the epoch followed the major body movement as stage N1, and we score the epoch as stage N2 if there are no slow eye movements. Another situation when we end the scoring N2 is transition to stage N3 or transition to stage R. And these are the rules when we score epochs with different sleep stages. We score epochs using the following parameters. We score sleep stages in 30 seconds, sequential epoch commencing at the start of the study. We assign a stage to each epoch. Now, if two or more stages coexist during a single epoch, we assign the stage comprising the greatest portion of the epoch. Score the epoch of sleep if the majority of this epoch meets criteria for stage N1, N2, N3, or R, and assign the sleep stage that occurs for the majority of epoch of sleep within the epoch. So this is another example of an epoch where we have three sleep stages. So in the first portion, that is awake. Then there is low amplitude mixed frequency, which is scored as N1. And then at the end of the epoch, we have a K complex. The stage awake is for 12 seconds. Then we have stage N1 for 11 seconds. And then we have stage 2 for 7 seconds. So for 18 seconds, we have sleep. We score the epoch as sleep. And because we have 11 seconds for stage N1, we score the epoch as N1. The following epoch would be scored as stage N2 unless there is evidence of a shift to another sleep stage. So again, epoch 103, it has a K complex, so it's N2. Epoch N2. Here we have a nice K complex, which is highlighted. And here we have stage R, but we don't see any rapid eye movement. So why is it score stage stage R? Because and the next epoch, and the next epoch, and here we see the rapid eye movements. So here we have to score backwards, stage R. because there is a low chin tone, no alpha, no K complexes, and low amplitude mixed frequency on EEG. When we start to score stage R sleep in epoch with all of the following phenomena: low amplitude mixed frequency EEG activity without K complexes or sleep spindles, low chin EMG tone for the majority of the epoch and concurrent with REMs at any position within the epoch. Score segments of sleep preceding and contiguous with an epoch to definite stage R in the absence of rapid eye movements, as the stage R is if all of the following are present. The EEG shows low amplitude mixed frequency activity without K complexes or sleep spindles. The chin EMG tone is low. There is no intervening arousal. Slow eye movements following an arousal or stage wake are absent. Again, stage R, nice rapid eye movements. Here an arousal, but because chin EMG becomes low again, it's scored a stage R in epoch 117. So this is how it looks on G3. Low amplitude mixed frequency, rapid eye movements, and this is low chin EMG. Muscle burst here. Again, we have three stages. Like this is stage R, this is an arousal, and here is stage N1. And because the majority of the epoch has stage R, we score it as stage R. And we continue with stage R, a nice arousal here. And after this arousal, there are slow rolling eye movements, and it's scored as stage N1. So in stage N1, alpha is attenuated and replaced by low amplitude mixed frequency activity for more than 50% of the epoch. In children, it's alpha, it's called posterior dominant rhythm because it's slower and has, I'll talk later about PDR. It's less than 50%. If not PDR, any of the following: theta activity 4 to 7 hertz, with slowing of 1 to 2 hertz from stage wave. There are vertex sharp waves, slow eye movements, or a hypnagogic hypersynchrony. Hypnagogic hypersynchrony is characteristic for stage N1, but it can be seen in stage N2 also. Stage N1 on G3. Again, stage N1, N1. No K complexes, no sleep spindles. So these were scored as leaf movements, but they are not because the activity is not sustained. Stage N1. And here we see a sleep spindle, and we switch to N2. Here there is an arousal, and we don't see any K complexes, no sleep spindle. That's why it's scored as N2. Here the same, it doesn't have 8 microvolts, so it's not a limb movement. Again, we have 3 different stages: stage N2, arousal, and stage N1. And because the stage N2 is predominant, it is scored as stage N2. Here we have a hypopnea. It's towards the end of the record, and so there are. It has the rule for the hypopnea is a reduction of at least 30% in nasal pressure transducer associated with an arousal or 3% desaturation. And here it has more than 2 missed breaths. It's associated with both arousal and desaturation. So in stage N1, patient's breathing becomes shallow, heart rate becomes regular, blood pressure falls, and the patient exhibits no body movement. He is distinguished by drifting thoughts that move from real to fantastic, along with the kind of floating feeling. The child is still easily awakened and might even deny having slept. And here is stage weight, but the child does not produce alpha rhythm. And here, slow rolling eye movements. It produced posterior dominant rhythm, which is lower in frequency than alpha. At age 1 is 5 hertz, at age 4 is 6 hertz, at age 5 is 7 hertz, at age 8 is 8 hertz, and more than 8 is 8 hertz. So this is posterior dominant rhythm in G3 in a 6-year-old child. If you can see, it's slower than alpha. And this is the end. I'm happy to accept any questions. Yeah, I'm a bit shy, I know. Yeah. So younger children do not produce recognizable alpha. They produce, it's called alpha, but in children, which is lower in frequency than alpha.
That too is different.
Especially children less than 13 years of age. Yeah, if you can see, it doesn't look like alpha, although the child is awake, and that's why it's called posterior dominant rhythm.
So we must know what age is before we start school.
Yes, we have to check the age, and this is a 4-year-old child.
So alpha will be different in
different. It will be different, and we use video a lot when we score because it's very useful. So we can see the child. If he moves, he will be awake. If he sleeps, maybe stage R, and
Yeah, for adults we don't care. It's always the same.
yeah.
So we can know when we are doing biocoils, all alpha will be.
Yes.
So that's the advantage when we do biocoil. Every age child will get an idea what kind of alpha it is. As frequency less than normal adult alpha. Alright.
Yes.
So that kind of we have to make our mindsets so we can see what kind of alpha is expected for the remaining epochs in the record.
Yeah.
Show the chart again where you said different ages. Different alpha and different, yeah, this so see with the different age frequency is different.
Yeah, so posterior dominant rhythm, I think I skipped this one, is semi-relaxed wakefulness with eyes closed, especially in occipital leads. It attenuates with eye opening or attention. In older children and adults, posterior dominant rhythm is often referred to as alpha rhythm. So if it's more than 50%, the epoch is scored as wake. If it's less than 50%, it's scored as sleep. With no alpha or PDR stage as wake, if you see eye blinks 0.5 to 2 hertz, scanning eye movements, rapid eye movements with high chin muscle tone.
As soon as we say please close your eyes, we will see the
We will see, yeah.
Can I ask a question, Manuela?
Yes.
Hi, I hope you're doing well. So Manuela, in children's scoring, stage N2 and N3 is very confusing. And it says that you should measure trough to trough to make sure about the delta waves.
Yes.
Do you have any simple way to distinguish between N2 and N3 in children?
In children, yes. Children have lots of N3, and it looks Uh, I usually score using my eyes. I don't
Mhm.
measure because my eyes
Yeah.
are used. So
That's always.
Yeah, because of that, I ask you as a trained and
yeah,
experienced
here, this is the
scorer.
reference line, and these are
Mhm.
delta waves, and you can see it's more than 6 seconds, and the
Yeah.
epoch has 30 seconds. So I usually measure like here
Use.
to here, and it's 6
Mhm.
seconds, so it's stage 3. I
Yeah.
use the mouse when
So reference lines are
You.
are very helpful, yes.
Yeah. Use your experience.
I use my experience, yes.
Okay.
Because
Thank
it's
you.
hard to measure trough to trough when you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
one
It's very time consuming. Yeah. Because
nostril.
of that, I ask.
We measure when we score the ISR
it takes
reference.
longer to score pediatric records. Similarly, doctors
Yeah.
have to spend more time with a pediatric patient than the adult. That's a unique thing I have learned.
Hi, Dr. Danju. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing good.
Mhm.
I have one question, Manuel.
Yeah.
Can you just speak to the challenges of looking at loss of REM sleep atonia in children? Because I find it can be difficult, especially if, I mean, I guess you would use the video, but in terms of like wakefulness and REM and distinguishing loss of REM sleep atonia.
It's a sign of RBD, right?
Yeah, I just meant like in terms of we rely so much on the chin tone to decide if something's REM or not.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't rely necessarily, maybe because the electrodes are not tolerated by small children. I rely a lot on rapid eye movements.
Oh.
Yeah, and how the EEG looks, low amplitude mixed frequency, so to waves, activity,
Sure.
yeah,
And the video.
and the video, yeah. Actually, in C-Kids, we can click on the camera and see the slow rolling, rapid eye movements in children, yeah. Yeah, some patients don't even have chin
EMG
chin signal. So
Excellent. Thanks, Manuela.
thank you.
Very much. Good talk.
Excellent.
I think Dr. Bola, lunch break, we are meeting at 1 o'clock.
Perfect. Yeah, is it? I think it's time for lunch now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You can just see.
So 1 o'clock we meet again.
So we'll be meeting again, yeah, at 1 o'clock. We're just gonna have a quick break for lunch for the people on Zoom, and we'll see everyone back at 1. Thanks.
Thank you.
Invite them to the
Do we have to log out?
No, you don't have to log out. You can just pause, or you can just put your speaker like mute, and you
Okay.
can just have your lunch and then come back.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.